Welcome back to the Let's Talk Vibes podcast, where we speak soul contracts, illuminating the path to higher understanding. We're your hosts, Lauren and Yiannah, and this week we are joined by the fabulous Petia Kolibova. Petia is an alignment women's coach who guides women to intuitively connect with their inner vision so they can experience personal and professional magnetism and become unapologetically abundant. Her mission is to empower visionaries who are on the path to embody their fullest self-expression to soulfully expand into a quantum leap in all dimensions of their lives. Petia gives immense clarity and exact steps to unlock women's divine feminine and abundance mindset. Through subconscious work as a certified breathwork facilitator, Reiki, NLP, and human design practitioner, she leads her 6 and 7 figure clients to their next level in their life and business. Welcome, Petia.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, Yiannah and I have both been guests on your podcast, Unapologetically Abundant. So we knew we had to have you come and tell a little bit of your story here as well.
Yeah, it was such a great episode, and I love that we keep bringing it back, like there is so much more to
Yeah.
share.
You know what
Well,
what's
yeah.
interesting is you talked about the divine feminine and you talked about abundance, right? And right away I think 13-4. That 13 in soul contracts is that divine feminine. That 4 is about abundance. And so that being the theme, it's about really getting in that mindset, right? Where there's enough abundance for everybody, right? Just because one person has doesn't mean somebody else can't have. And so really stepping into that mindset can be a really difficult thing to switch on for people if I don't want to say if your glass is half empty, but like if you struggle with that, how do you get a client who struggles with that to actually talk about that or to switch that and be in an abundant mindset?
hmm And I love that question so much, Anna. And usually that's why women are hiring me, because they know that there is more. There is more impact that they can make. There is more income they can make. And it's like this, and we all have it. There is this like inner deep knowingness. We're meant for more. And it's going against our innate who we came here to be when it feels like hard and struggle and hustling and pushing. Like deep inside, something is telling us, like, it shouldn't be this hard. Like, how could anybody live like this? So when they see my embodiment of what is possible as far as business and family and relationships and a purpose and impact, they're like, I want that. Of course, they don't want me and my stuff. They want their way of doing things. And so they come to me and they're like, well, how can I shift it? How can I do it? So we work on that, first the inner healing, but also looking at the beliefs, the limiting beliefs, why you're not where you want to be and why you're not feeling worthy of that. Because the moment when you're feeling worthy, you become more confident. When you become more confident, you become more attractive to the abundance and opportunities. Because when you're in scarcity, and this doesn't have to apply only to money, but if you're in scarcity of like time and opportunities, or I used to think
Love.
exactly all
Yeah.
the men cheat and there's not more like enough good men left, so whatever you believe, that will be your reality. So I help my clients to shift their reality, rewrite those beliefs through the methodology that I'm teaching, and they can step into the abundance.
Oh yeah.
I would really love to hear from you, Petia, because I'm sure you didn't start here, right? Where you are now. This is what I say to people all the time. It's so hard for people to get started because they're trying to start at the level 10 because that's what they're comparing and seeing out there. I'm like, but you didn't see their level 1. You didn't see where they start. Where did you get started? What has been your journey to step into this version of yourself?
I think I wasn't even level 1. I was like level -10. And I'm very honest about my journey. When you listen to my podcast, look at my social media, like it's so easy for people to look at me and like, well, good for her, right? She has a loving husband, beautiful daughter, multiple 6-figure business, working a couple days a week, has top 2% podcast and host retreats, travels the world. It's so easy for people to look at that, but they also get to understand that And it's funny because like I created a new bio and I put it there. I am a girl from a small country, from a small town with unpronounceable name, because I used to be nobody. And I was my whole life up until I was 18 and run away from home. I was being told that I'm complete no one, and I'm not going to be cussing here because that's not my thing. And I don't do that. But like I was like, my stepfather, abused me physically and mentally, and emotionally. I was wrecked. I was in a toxic relationship, not feeling worthy, not feeling like I I belong, and I was outsourcing my worthiness and happiness. So even though like first I was, traveling the world trying to find myself, and wherever you go, you take yourself with you, right? There you are. So I didn't have to travel to find me. And it's nice to travel. But then when I was even here, like going to school, going to corporate, getting my bachelor's in marketing and MBA, and always living in a wonderland. When I finish my school, then I will be happy. When I, change my body and I have a six pack, I will be happy. When I'm in a relationship, then I will be happy. Always living in that win because I never felt enough. No matter what I did, no matter what I accomplished, I already saw like the next thing that I could do. And I have never passed to celebrate the past. So I had to really shift that. And it was really challenging because I went through like anxiety, depression, attempted suicide, eating disorder. So it's haven't been like, butterflies and rainbows. And here I am, living my dream life. And even though when you step into that new version of you, who I see myself as worthy and valuable, there's still going to be things and challenges that you're going to be growing through. And, like every new level will require a new version of you. And so it's even like becoming mother. And I know, Yiannah, you get it. Like when you become mother, your priorities completely changed. And I didn't want to do what I used to do. And I didn't want to show up how I used to show up. That worked for me in the energy of maiden. That's how I built my business, but that was in a sense like, I want to be saved. I want it to be seen, and I want it to be loud. And now when I step and listen, you don't have to become mother to change your archetypes, not at all, but that really sped up the process for me. When I became mother, I would not be tolerating the things that I did in the past. I wouldn't settle anymore. And that's why I'm setting my boundaries, speaking my truth, doing my requests, doubled my prices in my business. And my clients have now more results. So it hasn't been always easy, and it's never like, hey, ease and flow and I figure it out. Like there are days that I'm still doubting myself. There are days that imposter syndrome comes in. There are days that I have like in April and May, I had the biggest income dip that I've ever had in my life, and I worked through it. Like I had to get on there and talk myself through it and be the best client that I have. So next month I had $18,000, in my business. So it's never like getting there because it's a never ending journey. But I feel like when we can share our heart and share our journey, that's what makes us relatable,
Right.
on who you are being and how are you doing things. Like there are a million coaches who can help you to make five, figures or multiple 5-figure months. But how I do it is different because who I am is different. So women hire me because of how I do things, and because I'm not going to be hustling and working hard, because family is my priority, and because I just like working 2 days a week.
It's funny because I even noticed for me, the less time that I put into work, the more I was getting booked. So the less energy I put into, oh, I got to get this, I got to make this happen. And I was literally being like, that abundant mindset. It's going to come to me. What are you stressing for? And then you just see it coming in and you're like, but I'm doing like way less. It doesn't, 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2 in this situation. And then you realize 1 + 1 doesn't have to equal 2 in this scenario, if you will. And I think you made a really good point where it's so important, that authenticity part, right? Where you're like, listen, yes, I'm this coach, and yes, I can teach you how to be abundant and all this stuff, but I have my shit too. I think when you show up authentically, that's when you start attracting people, because I think when people want to work with you, it's because of your energy, your frequency, they're a match to it. And
Mhm.
so I've noticed that with me too, because I'm like, there are plenty of practitioners out there. Why me? And there's always that piece where you're like, oh, I understand. Or they'll be like, you resonated with me. And part of that too is that authenticity. I don't hide the fact that I have my shit days too. I have things that I go through where I'm like, I don't have everything figured out because nobody does. So to pretend that you do is wild, you know? But that abundant mindset, and it's knowing that, yes, I'm going to step into that frequency of what it is that I want. And I'm going to have a day where I'm going to be mad about it, struggle with it, feel lost to find that frequency and that thing that I want to bring in. And that's okay. Give yourself that grace. It was a shit day. I didn't like how it turned out. I don't feel like I'm getting anywhere. I don't feel like I could see my goal anywhere in sight, and wake up the next day and let it go. And so when you just keep realigning yourself, that's how you can hold that frequency longer. And so when people think that you have to hold it and it stays there forever and that's just how it is, that's just not reality. And so it's so important to mention that, because people just think it's so different. And it's like, no, you have your ebbs and your flows just like life. And so anyway, yeah, the way that moves is, it's a very real roller coaster, and you have to ride it. And if you resist it, it just makes it worse.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. Well, I'm curious also that Petia, like, what are some of the limiting beliefs that you have seen with your clients that are blocking this unworthiness?
That's a brilliant question. And the first thing that comes to me is I'm not enough. You know, whether it's I'm
Mhm.
not smart enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not certified enough. There's always this, you know, like not enoughness, or I don't have enough time, or I don't have enough energy, whatever it is this piece of not enoughness. And the other thing is what I'm seeing really often with my clients, it's what would other people think? What would other people think if I sell at this price? What would other people think if I do it this way? What if other people think that if I post this? So really thinking about others more than thinking about yourself and your truth. It's really, really big one. And a lot of times we have to work on the money mindset and relationship with money, because we are so conditioned, like you said, Yiannah, you know, like you have to work really hard. It's like 1 and 1 has to equal 2. And it's not true. It's like, do the work that it's focused work, do the work that really is aligned work that will move the needle. Very often we feel that when we keep ourselves busy and we do more, we deserve more, but it's not truth. Because just think about it, you know, like when you go to chiropractic adjustment, you're done in like freaking 5 minutes. I take my daughter, you know, and not now, but when she was little, when she was newborn, they were literally done in 2 minutes.
yeah.
And you pay them the full fee, but you're not paying them for the 2 minutes. You're paying them for all the experience, for all the years. And we have to bring it in and we have to embody it. And you get to see yourself. Like with some of my clients, I asked them, like, hey, I had a client who wanted to like host like a VIP weekend, you know, for her clients. And she wanted to be charging like $300 per person. And she wanted just like 5 people. And I'm like, I'm curious, if you are able to pay $3,500 for a VIP day with me, why would you be charging $300 for others? How much did you invest that in yourself? So she had to sit down and write a list of all the things that she has invested, because she was like, well, I can, but other people cannot afford it. So I have to make something affordable. I was like, well, have a free podcast. So she started a podcast later, but you know, like she didn't see it as like her worthy of like receiving. She's like, I'm an excellent giver. I'm like, yeah, but to be excellent giver, you have to be also excellent receiver. And she figured it out. She invested over $50,000 in her personal growth and development and business. And I'm like, and with that, do you want to still charge $300? She's
Right.
like, no. It's like so much time, so much energy. So working through limiting money beliefs is also huge, you know, and shifting the perspective. And like when things come up, knowing how to move through them, it's priceless. Like I work with my clients one-on-one, but we also do like a Voxer support, which is just messaging app. And for them to be able to say like, hey, this is what's coming up, this is what's coming through. Like I had a client who she felt like, I don't want to be too salesy. I don't
Yeah.
want to
Mhm.
bother people. I don't want to sell, like sales email when I was off for, she just gave a birth to baby. Her baby, it's 4.5 months now, but she was like, I didn't like email my list for a long time, but I'm so inspired. I created this and I want to share it and I want to give them discount, as like the first time starting it. And she was like so much in her head. So we talked it through. We did a couple exercises and she sent the email and she made almost $19,000.
Nice.
Wow.
Imagine if she would stay in her head. Like, so being able to voice through what is coming through and don't leave it in your head, whether it's through somatic work, whether you talk to your coach, whether you just like journal it out. Like I journal every single day and I ask myself, what is coming up? And I let those limiting beliefs come up. I address them while they're in like, the little stage before it grows out of proportion and I'm feeling like even worse and I cannot move through it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Now,
It,
Yiannah, I'm sure that there was an energy that you were picking up as she started talking for this answer. Like for me, I was picking up so much on that 12-3 energy because 3 also has to do with like feelings of worthiness and the money, but like also very specifically, there's like a rushing energy and they're the forever student. They are the ones who not only have difficulty charging, but they are the ones who don't feel like they ever have enough certificates. They just always need to learn. There's always going to be that thing to learn. So I was just like, oh my goodness, that is epitome 12-3 right there.
yeah, they're scared to ask for their worth. I feel like I'm worth that $3,500 VIP section or VIP ticket or whatever. But they're like, but no one's gonna pay it, so I'm gonna charge $350. That 3 frequency just screams it, and it really is. It's got this failure syndrome. It has this like scarcity mindset, and it's like, have you not always been provided for? Let's go back to that. Sit in your faith. Have you not always been provided for? What are you worried about? And if the thing is, when you sit in that self-worth, which you absolutely need to feel worthy to receive, because that is how you receive, because you're matching that frequency of receiving. And it's like when you sit in that and you go, I really need or want to charge at 3,500. Maybe you're not going to get 1,000 people. Maybe you'll get 20 people. And then the next time you'll get 30 people. Whatever it is, you got to put it out there because there is a buyer for everything. There is someone who's going to match your frequency on everything. And if you don't believe in yourself, nobody else will. So what are you doing? And again, easier said than done all the time. But when you practice that, it's easier to stay in that mindset. And what you did for your client was you held that space for her. Girlfriend, you're worth it. You got this. Take a step down, get out of that anxiety, that stress, whatever it is, that worry, and believe in yourself and just send that email. And she got $19,000 in one day. I mean, that's amazing. So again, easier said than done, but when you sit in it, and I think having the support of somebody like a coach can really help keep you accountable of staying in that space. Because when it's just you on your own, you can easily flow out of it, right? Because you get distracted. There's nobody there to really keep you in check in a beautiful way. So the service that you offer, being able to do that for somebody else is very invaluable in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah. 3 energy all day long.
Yeah. I mean, with the abundance, I mean, that's what these 2 numbers really come back to a lot, the 3 and the 4 and their different variations. Well, actually, you do have a 12-3 as the spiritual talent in your birth name in the as written form, because we would have a phonetic version for your name as well. But I think it's actually so interesting that that number, clearly it's something that you attract in your clients because literally within your birth chart, you have that within you to help unlock that for them. So I think, again, it just shows we all end up doing this work or we ought to do work that allows us to bring those energies of our birth chart out into the world. And here it is, it's your talent. So that's beautiful.
Another thing I want to add to that too is part of that 3 frequency that brings in that abundance, aside from the self-worth, is that joy component. Find the thing that brings you the joy. And when you do that, it feels like you're not working a day in your life. And that's where you're going to pull that thread to bring in whatever that product or service or whatever it is you want to sell. That's where it's gonna fit for you, wherever you have joy in what you're doing. And it's like, can you imagine Actually, I can because I lived that. But like, imagine like waking up every day and hating what you do. And so yes, totally. And that's what happened to me before I got into this work, where I loved it for 7 years. It was everything for me. And then I just started waking up going, "Ugh, do I have to do this again?" And I remember being like, that's weird. Why am I feeling that? I love this thing. And it was that joy was gone. It was like that door was closing and I got to get out of here. How much longer do you want to drag something that doesn't serve you for your highest good? Right. And so switching gears into doing the thing, I was like, okay, well, what do I want to do? Then the fun began because I had the luxury of taking the time to figure out what I wanted to do. And when I sat in that joy, and when I sat into like, oh, this fills me up and excites me, then I fast forward and I end up here talking to people about sound frequencies and like abundance and all this self-worth and all this beautiful stuff. And I'm like, I feel like I don't work a day in my life. So that 3, it brings in that self-worth, and that joy is such a huge component.
I love that, and I feel like we all went through that, but some people, they just stay there. They think that that's
Yeah.
the way of life. They don't see that, like, they can feel it, like I said at the beginning, that there is more to life that we can experience, but they don't allow themselves to, whether it's conditioning, whether it's their beliefs, they stay where they are, even if it doesn't feel joy and fulfilling, because maybe they haven't seen anyone, like their parents or grandparents or friends. They like see them grinding and hustling, and they're like, well, there cannot be joy. That's for Hallmark movies. So I love that we can be the embodiment of the possibilities, and that you're sharing it so honestly, like, hey, like it sucked and I needed to get out, and I just sat with it and created something that is better. And, like I said, like when my daughter was born, I had to pivot how I do my business too, because what worked before just wasn't fulfilling for me anymore.
Oh, yeah. I understand that very, very much. And what's interesting is I had a daycare business. So I was like, I knew before I had children, I wanted to do something where my daughter or son could be with me. And so I was like, daycare, done. And so for the first year and a half, maybe 2 years of her life, a little less, that's what I did. And then all of a sudden I felt like, well, that served its purpose. I'm out. And I could have stayed there financially. I was doing great. I could have stayed there for the rest of my life, but it didn't fulfill me. And so it was like, we're out. Next, we're doing it. So especially as a mother, I totally get that. Because if the moment comes where it's like, I'd rather be doing anything in the world than this, I'm out. Done. So anyway, listen, Petia, thank you for joining us. We love your spin and your optimism with abundance, because that's exactly what we all need in our lives. Why don't you let our listeners know where to find you?
So my favorite place would be Instagram, Petia Kolibova. You got my handles. Or if there are any mamas listening, I just created a new account, the Holistically Minded Mama, and I absolutely love it. And my podcast, Unapologetically Abundant. Those are the 2 of my favorite places.
Beautiful.
Wonderful. Thank you again, Petia. And everybody, head over to Instagram. Let us know what you have thought of this week's episode, or let us know in the comments here on YouTube. Next week, we're going to have our 4-4 deep dive. So certainly the conversation on abundance and worthiness is going to continue next week and the week after with our 3-3 deep dive. So we are just getting started on this topic. And if you would like to book a reading with either Yiannah or myself, head over to the ltvpodcast.com.
And as always, everybody, don't forget to like, share, subscribe to our content. It is the best way to support us, and we greatly appreciate it. Have a beautiful, blessed day. Bye.